Negative etheric implants. Etheric implants are non-physical devices that is placed in the energy body at the fourth dimensional level, designed for siphoning and control. Implants are used to override or run programs in a person's biocomputer, which is your energetic body. They are placed in either a person's emotional or mental body in order to run the program and manipulate the person's emotions or thoughts. Implants can impact a person's health, mental state, emotional state, and can affect your abilities to access higher levels of consciousness and your higher self. Etheric implants also open negative portalways in order to siphon energy while the implant is activated. While originally a positive technology, many negative soul groups started abusing this technology and created their own in order to harness vital force energy. There are etheric implants that are positive that some soul groups hold, but we are not scanning for positive etheric implants. We're only looking for negative etheric implants. So these negative etheric implants, like I said, they're a small etheric device that's placed in the fourth dimensional energy body of ours, and it's either placed in our emotional or mental body. Now, if a negative etheric implant is placed in someone's emotional body, then the program is going to affect their emotions. If it's placed in their mental body grid, then it's going to influence their thoughts. They also open up a negative portalway in order to siphon the person's vital force energy when the program is activated. Negative etheric implants are not only placed in someone's emotional or mental body, but they're also usually placed in one of the chakras in order to run the program within a certain area. Now, for example, a negative etheric implant running, let's say, restriction in the second chakra will impact the person in the area of money and sex. They may be poor and single because the program is restricting the energy in that chakra, or they may have a hard time restricting themselves from overspending. So they could be in a lot of debt, or have a sexual addiction because they can't restrict their sexual impulses. So the program could play either side of the coin by either restricting or creating an issue with the person being able to have their own restrictions. So the example that I'm using right now is the program of restriction. If a program of restriction was placed in someone's second chakra, this could affect them, like I said, on either side of the coin. Sometimes that restriction in the second chakra will make the person not be able to have much financial abundance, and may also be single, not able to find a partner, because the second chakra is about money and sex. So having restriction, the program restriction running in the second chakra, could restrict money and also sex for the person. Now, it could also work on the other side of the coin, and it could actually create the person to not be able to restrict themselves in finances and sex, which means they overindulge. Having no restriction means the person could be in a massive amount of debt, and they could also have a lot of sexual activity that goes far beyond a normal sort of sense and could end up with some sort of sexual addiction. So that restriction in the second chakra, as an example, could actually literally restrict the person so they have little money and little sex in their life, or it could actually block them from being able to restrict themselves, which means they completely overindulge in both areas. So the program can play out either way. These implants have been blocking humanity from activating their higher heart, and this makes it hard for people to access their higher self, which is higher sensory perception abilities. So when we are accessing our higher self, what we are actually accessing is higher sensory perception abilities. And obviously, when you're accessing higher sensory perception abilities, you're able to see life in a whole new way. So accessing our higher self is really important if we want to really be able to look and understand our life from a higher perspective. So accessing our higher self is really vital. These negative etheric implants can put the body into adrenal exhaustion due to the off frequency of the implant and the constant siphoning of vital force energy. Our bodies develop coping mechanisms to deal with this energetic foreign object, but it can cause a lot of stress on the central nervous system, brain, and immune system. Like chemtrails, negative etheric implants are designed to create a metallic frequency overload to impact the health of our auric field and to disrupt our body's internal state, and this results in parasites, fungi, yeast and other microorganisms becoming overgrown and imbalanced in the body. Now with this metallic frequency, basically it really allows other things in, and this is why most people on this planet have all sorts of parasite issues and fungi issues, candida overgrowth. All of this stuff really impacts us as humans. Now just the parasites alone is mind-blowing. If humans are full of parasites, then we're just so easily controlled. I cannot tell you how crazy it is if you've ever done a full parasite clean before and got rid of all the parasites in your system, you can actually feel the different levels of consciousness that are actually inside of our bodies. A lot of parasites actually create cravings for certain foods that the parasites like. So a lot of people's food choices aren't really their own. Most of the time, it's the parasites who decide what people eat. So it's really interesting how many different consciousnesses we have in our body, and clearing ourselves from the parasites and all that sort of stuff can really help someone have a lot of clarity of who they are, because that one thing alone can create so much issues and, like I said, actually control somebody. Parasites can control us. It's quite fascinating. So this is one of the reasons why chemtrails and negative etheric implants affect us so deeply, is because it not only creates issues based on what the program's running or whatever, but it also opens us up to a whole new level of interference, from the microorganisms to bacteria to parasites and fungi. If negative etheric implants scan up, we'll be asking how many are present and finding out the location within the emotional mental grid, as well as what chakra it's located in. The program it is running could be anything, so there is no scan sheet because that would be impossible. But these programs can be just one word, such as fear, obstruction, lack, restriction, and this will then play out like we talked about earlier with the program of restriction. These programs can also be an instruction, such as energy leak, which would then create an energy leak within the chakra it was placed in, as well as drain the person on the emotional or mental level. So the program can be anything, but we don't have to find the program in order to remove it. Although if you do get an imprint or download of what it is, then go with it. The more work you do in the records, the more you'll get these types of answers. So like I said, the program that these negative etheric implants are running can be absolutely anything. So to try and do a scan sheet to find the program would be impossible and really, really silly, because you just wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't find the right answer on it. So finding the program is not important, but I do think that a lot of you will actually get the imprint or download of what the program is. And if you do get an imprint or a hit of what a word comes in, I would go with it. That's how I get the programs when I'm in the records. I just know what it is and I go with it. So I highly recommend that if you're doing work in the records, and especially if you're doing them regularly for clients, if you come across negative etheric implants and you just have an impulse of what word it is or something like that, then write it down and go with it, because this is how you will open yourself up to more and more in the Akashic records, by trusting what comes through. Now you can still get a lot of information just by looking at the location of the implant, because the chakra it's placed in will let you know what area of life is being targeted, and if it's been affecting them more mentally via negative thoughts or more emotionally by how they feel. I would suggest that you have a little look at chakra information if you're not familiar with it, and take some notes on each chakra so you have an idea of each chakra. Now you don't have to know much in order to see what area of life it is designed to affect, so don't overstress yourself with having to know too much, although knowing about these energy centers is always a good idea. If you don't try and get all the answers at the start and just trust the process of learning, then you'll develop your skills of reading the information in the records faster. Picking up programs of negative etheric implants is fine, detailed work, as there are millions of possibilities. So by not pushing yourself to get all the fine print and being okay with having your learner plates on, then the Akashic Records will respect you more and trust you even more. So if you go into the Akashic Records wanting to be an expert straight away and forcing and stressing about it and expecting all the answers, then you'll end up not trusting anything because you will be told bullshit. Your willingness to accept where you're at will be the key to developing your finer detailed abilities. So just enjoy the process because you're never going to know it all and your expansion will never be done. So don't try and rush the process because it's within the learning process that you master the information by going one step at a time. So I can't stress this enough. Going into the Akashic Records, being okay with where you're at, being okay as a learner, not expecting to know it all, then that's when you'll find that you'll expand faster. If people go into this work trying to be the expert or trying to push information and trying to find information, not just allowing it to come, then the growth and expansion won't be as fast as someone who goes in there completely okay being a learner. This is how I expanded really fast. I was always okay with not knowing because I know that I'm never going to know it all and I'm okay with that. So I just always take one step at a time and I lean into the expansion by trusting myself. I trust that if I don't know something or I'm not shown something, then I don't need to know it. And I have the belief that everything I need to know I will find and I'll always be shown. But I don't need to know everything all the time and I'm okay with that. So trust yourself, go slow, don't expect to have every single bit of information all the time and just know that the more okay you are with that, the quicker you're going to get the finer details and the downloads will come as well. Negative etheric implants are one of those things that you'll find in most people, and negative etheric implants are easily placed while we're asleep, so they are really, really common. Don't stress out if you find them regularly on yourself. Negative etheric implants can be a past life issue or a present life issue. Most people come into this lifetime already quite implanted up from past lives, and we're quite implanted up in this lifetime as well. So really, really common to find. We don't need to know if they're past life or present life. It makes no difference. We find them and clear them. If you do get a download or an imprint of the program it's running, bonus. If not, it doesn't matter. The information that you have as far as knowing what chakra it's in, you will be, and if it's an emotional or mental thing, then you're able to say to somebody, how are you feeling emotionally or how are you feeling mentally? Like, what are your thoughts around, just say it's the second chakra. Like how are things, with your finances and your love life? Because I have found there's been some blocks and restrictions, or I found a negative etheric implant, depending on what you're going to say, depending on, your client, in your second chakra, in your emotional body. So you can kind of gauge what's going on if you know a little bit about each chakra and you know if it's in a mental or emotional body grid, you'll be able to pull together information. Now, as you're doing readings and you're coming across stuff, don't be afraid to pop into the group or under the video and just say what you've found. And that way I can help you kind of pull things together and start to learn more. So as you're finding things, share with us in the group. And that way I can kind of come in and give you a little bit more of a background about how that could be affecting people. And the more you do this, the more you'll naturally see the correlations and you'll just know how it plays out. Even if you don't get any information as far as, you might find that there's a negative etheric implant in someone's emotional grid in their sixth chakra, then you don't even need to put any puzzle pieces together. You could just find that information and clear it and move on. You do not have to sit there and work out how it could affect somebody. You don't need to know that. When you start putting the puzzle pieces together, it's just more learning for you, and obviously you can pass more information on to your clients, but it's not necessary. All we're really needing to do is find them and clear them. Any extra information is a bonus.